Hey folks, Matt from Art of the Image. I wanted to go over the new Canon T3 1100D specs with you and compare those with the T3i, the 600D, because some people are wondering, is the T3, the 1100D good enough for them, or do they need to step up to the T3i, the 600D? Basically, the T3, the little brother to the T3i, really good camera. The key points here of the differences between the two is the sensor, 12.2 megapixels, so say 12 megapixels on the T3. The T3i, the 600D, has the 18 megapixel sensor, same as the 60D or the 550D. So you're getting the 6 more megapixels from the T3i than you are on the T3. Now that's not always a disadvantage. If you really want the extra resolution, that's great on the T3i. However, you're probably going to get a little cleaner image on the high ISO from the T3 because it doesn't cram as many megapixels into the sensor. I haven't seen the actual comparisons of that yet, but that would be what I would suspect that typically is what we see when there's less megapixels on a sensor, is it's a little clean at the higher ISO, is a little cleaner. They both have the Digic 4 image processors, so you can expect the same quality of processing. So with all else being given, I would say the T3 might be a little cleaner. So there's your trade-off there. More megapixels on the T3i, which is great. Less megapixels on the T3, but probably a little bit cleaner high ISO. And folks, 12 megapixels is pretty much all you need for just about anything. You look at the D700, the Nikon, or the Nikon D3S, the two full-frame cameras. Incredible image quality at 12 megapixels. You can enlarge these to much greater sizes, and if you have a cleaner image to start with because you've got a cleaner image from lower megapixels, then you're not going to really notice it. You probably would have a hard time telling the difference taking a raw image file from the T3 and expanding it to 18 megapixels in, say, Lightroom's converter to up-res it. It probably would be almost unnoticeable. You'd really have to be pixel peeping to find it if you could. So the next difference between these two is the frames per second. The T3i is a little faster at 3.7 frames per second. The T3 is 3 frames per second. Not a big difference here. Where the difference really comes in is if I flip further into the specs on here, is more a question of the how many shots it can shoot continuously in the buffer. And the maximum burst rate for the T3 for continuous shooting is 3 frames per second, but the maximum burst is 830 shots in JPEG. So, and that is compared to the T3i, which is at 34. So the T3i is at 34, and the T3 is at 830. Now this is likely due to the greater size of the T3i, so you can actually get more of a maximum burst on the T3. Now the raw maximum burst rate is 6 on the T3i, and it's 5 on the T3. So there you're seeing a little advantage on the T3i versus the T3 for raw maximum burst rate. And then raw plus JPEG is 3 on the T3i and 1 on the T3. So the T3i is giving you a little bit better of the burst rate as well as frames per second. So this is noteworthy as well. You want to look at that as far as what your shooting is like. They're pretty close, but it is a faster camera. You're paying more, you're getting a faster camera with the T3i. The big thing for me with the T3, the 1100D, is the LCD monitor. It is dumbed down, if you will, to a 2.7-inch 230,000 dot LCD. Now the T3i has the same 3-inch 1.04 million dot LCD. So a much nicer LCD on the T3i. Not to mention, it is the vari-angle LCD on the T3i, so you can move it around just like on the 60D. Big plus. This here is probably the biggest point for me that I see between these two cameras is the LCD monitor. It makes a huge difference to have that nice clear LCD like is on the T3i to be able to zoom right in and see how sharp your image is. The 2.7-inch on the T3 at 230,000 dots, you're really going to notice that it's not as sharp as the one on the T3i. So looking at these two things, that's the big one for me right there is the monitor. Obviously, the T3i is a little faster for shooting, a little more megapixels. Again, the megapixel thing, not such a big deal for me. It's kind of a bit of a trade-off. So for me, the big thing is the monitor. And then the second big thing, if we're going to go for two big things with the T3i and the T3, is video. If you really want to shoot video, if video is important to you, well, the T3i does full 1080p, and the T3 doesn't. It does 720. So basically what you're looking at, the T3 here has 1280 by 1080 video. That's the maximum resolution. You can shoot it at 30p, 24p, and 25p. So that's the best you can do on the T3, which is fine for a lot of people. However, if you're really want to do video, the T3i may be your better option simply for the video aspect alone, because it does shoot the 1920 by 1080 at 24, 30, and 25. Sorry, 30, 24, and 25p. So basically, the T3i does much better video. It does your full 1080p video. The T3 only does 720p. Obviously, Canon has to have trade-offs when you're coming in at a price point. The T3 only costs $599 with an 18 to 55 millimeter IS lens. This T3i, the 600D, costs $899 with the 18 to 55 millimeter IS lens. So there's a $300 difference here. So quite a significant price difference between the two, which begs the question, and that'll be another video, is the T3 or the T2i the better buy? But between these two, between the T3 and the T3i, the 1100D versus the 600D, you're looking at $300 price difference for the kit with the 18 to 55 millimeter IS lens. I think it's about $200 price difference for body only. Now, so your big things are sensor. If super high resolution is important to you, the T3i has the 18 megapixels, the T3 has the 12. To me, it's not a big deal because probably the T3 has cleaner high ISO and a cleaner image with the 12 megapixels, and you can res it up from RAW and you're probably not going to see any difference. As a matter of fact, I'd really love to see somebody point out a difference that's visible. The frames per second, pretty close. Burst rate, pretty close, but the T3i takes it a little bit. And so the big two things here you want to focus on when you're trying to decide between these is the monitor, because the T3 only has the 230,000 dot monitor at 2.7 inches. The T3i has the 3-inch and the vari angle. You can move it around, which is great, and it is 1.04 million dots. So much sharper, much better monitor, plus the vari angle on the T3i. And then the video. Again, full HD video on the T3i, and you can only do 720p video on the T3. So factor in what's the most important for you. For some people, especially people starting out or just wanting for family photos and just doing the odd video for family, the T3 is going to be all you need, the T3 1100D, and you're going to like to save that $300. For other people who want to get into more video needs, they want to do more in-depth stuff with video, and they want the better capable camera, and that's where that monitor is really going to shine. You're going to want to go for the T3i, and the $300 is going to be worth it. But it has to be something you decide. Is it worth it to save the $300? Are you not really going to use it for much more than, as a hobbyist and your family and things like that? Is that video going to be enough for you, and are you going to be able to live with the monitor, or do you need to step up to the T3i and spend the extra $300? Now, in the next video, we'll also look at the T3 versus the 550D, the T2i, because some of the differences there brings with price and what you can get kind of brings it in closer. So then we really have to look at, is the T3 worth buying over the T2i? So we'll look at that next. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Stay tuned to Art of the Image. We'll be back with some more videos and some more articles for you soon, and we will keep you up to date with what's going on in the world of photography. Thanks a lot.